with the big two that we watched over this past week. I think everybody in the world got introduced to this guy. If you haven't known, now you know. Victor Wembanyama versus Scoot Henderson in a G League kind of exhibition match between Metropolitan 92 and, of course, the G League Ignite team. Again, I'm not going to keep shouting out the plug, but the plug, of course, obviously being the video about Victor here on the Charge channel. Again, we talk about his strengths. We talk about areas of improvement. Please go and check that video out, as it is a very fun and interesting watch to kind of talk about and see what we think about Victor Wembanyama as a draft prospect. But you could clearly see it if you guys watched the games over the past week. The kid put up 34 points in one game, 37 points in the other game. Scoot Henderson had a great game in the first game, and then unfortunately the second game he got hurt and couldn't continue. And so both of these guys are clearly at this current point in time the number 1 and number 2 draft picks in the next coming NBA season. And the question that we kind of want to dig in and kind of deep dive a little bit more as kind of fans of these guys and kind of fans of the NBA in general, what team do you think would be able to best accommodate both Scoot and Victor and kind of utilize their best assets as players? So, Brad, why don't you start off first? Talk about these two guys. Which guy do you like more, and where is the best fit for both of these guys?
Okay, yeah. Well, I'll start with Scoot. Um, a player comp for Scoot, I think he's like a mix between like D Rose athletically, honestly Westbrook athleticism, we could go that
Yeah.
far, and like Darren Williams, like the game he has with his
Ooh.
handle and yeah, his vision has improved this year. I really see like some Darren Williams. He's a taller, bigger guard. Darren Williams was bigger. Um, like he's a freak of nature. It's a shame he has to be in the same draft as Wemby because he would be number 1 in a lot of other drafts.
Yeah.
I wrote this down, Brad. I looked at it the last 15 years. Any other year, if Scoot was in it, as far as my thoughts on Scoot, I think there was only 3 seasons where I wouldn't have had him number 1 over
Oh,
anybody else.
actually, I want to know which drafts did you have him not number 1 in?
So it was literally only Luka, and then it was
Okay.
Zion, and then I
Mhm.
didn't count this one because Wembanyama is obviously, I mean, it's not even close, and that's
Yeah.
not fair to Scoot. The only other one I had was AD. I had those 3. I had Luka, AD, and Zion. It's the only 3 guys I would have taken number 1 over Scoot in any of the last 15 years.
I
think
agree with that.
I think some people might think that's crazy because I feel like I'm sorry to derail you, Brad, but I honestly feel like Scoot
No, you're
is going to
good.
be so underrated because of Wembanyama. He is going to stay underrated because of Wembanyama.
I agree.
Just
All
because
eyes will be on him.
the perspective, people don't understand how to shift their perspectives with that kind of stuff. You see somebody like Wembanyama and people lack, like, I think the average fan lacks the ability to see, like, this really is a historic top 2. Like, these guys are historically good at the age they're at. They both could go into the league right now and probably be 2 of the best 20 young players maybe ever in the NBA. Like, genuinely, that's crazy. But their games are built for right now. Yeah, go back on Scoot. But yeah, Scoot, I had him only 3 drafts, not counting this one. I would have put him number 1.
I agree with that take, honestly. I had a hard time deciding between him and Kyrie, but I'm gonna go with Scoot.
I would have taken Scoot, honestly. Kyrie played 7 games in college.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah.
But the talent is so high. But I think Scoot can impact like both ends of the floor more than
do too.
Kyrie. Yeah.
100%. Like, because you think of somebody like Ja, right? Ja was somebody going into Ja's class. You had him, RJ, and Zion, right? And I was personally one of the few people I still had RJ over Ja, which I know a homer because I ended up getting him on my team. But even before the draft, I had RJ over Ja. But even knowing what we know about Ja now, if you just put them in the same draft, dude, I would still probably take Scoot, which I know is not fair because we know what Ja is now. But just saying, like, imagining we didn't know, put them in the same class. I mean, I think Scoot's a better prospect on paper.
I agree. Yeah, for his team fit, I honestly think the Kings would be a great fit. And I know they have De'Aaron Fox, but y'all know how I feel about De'Aaron Fox. I think that they should move him, get what you can for him, and you could start fresh, and they could actually have an identity with Keegan Murray and Scoot as their like centerpieces, build around that. And that would be, and I think Scoot's a culture changer. The way he plays, how intense he is, how hard he tries to win. I think he would be able to change whatever putrid culture that they've had in Sacramento for the last 20 years. So that or the Rockets, because KPJ, as much as I love my Seattle boy, is not starting PG material as of now. I hope he has a good season, but if I was the Rockets, I'd be looking hard at Scoot, since we might have a pick there.
Mm-hmm. Pete?
I thought about that a lot too. I thought about the Rockets for Scoot a lot too. Wait,
yeah,
you want to go on Wembanyama, Brad, or do you want to do Scoot?
We can do Scoot, and then we could move on to Wemby. Yeah.
My pick for Scoot, dude, I love Scoot on the Magic. I don't think they're going to be bad enough to get him, unfortunately, and I know they have a lot of point guards, but I just feel like he's, like you said, Brad, I think one thing with Scoot that sticks out, especially when you listen to some interviews, I would highly recommend anybody who wants to get to know Scoot a little bit better. Kevin O'Connor on the Ringer just did a really good interview with him. I think it was like 20 minutes long, one-on-one interview. Very interesting, and it just showed how like mature he is, the type of leader he's going to be in the NBA. I want to put him on a great young core where he can just be their Jason Kidd, And I'm not saying he plays like Jason Kidd, but just be this like this point guard culture setter, maybe like even a Chris Paul type, where you can you set the tempo for your team night in and night out. I love him on the Magic because I think that fit is so nice with some of their bigs, and say what you will about the young guys on the Magic as far as their guards are concerned, none of them have anywhere near the ceiling that Scoot has. So if I'm in their position and I have guys like, I like Fultz a lot, I'd probably consider keeping him out of all the guys they have as guards. But you look at like what's going on with Suggs. I mean, he's injured. It didn't really go well from last season. Bernie, I know you're still super high on him. I mean, if the universe is there where you can get Jalen Suggs.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Jalen Suggs is fine, but he's no Scoot Henderson. So I like him on the Magic. The other team that I thought about a lot is, the Rockets were right there, but I thought about, Bernie, you guys are going to hate this again. I thought the Thunder, man. I think if they don't have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I'll be the guy. I got to stay on brand. If they don't have him, he's incredible for that team. He's incredible for that team. With Chet down low, the spacing they would have, I love him on that team. With Josh Giddey as well, you have two ball-handling point guards, but they play really different. I like it. That's hard to guard.
Yeah. I mean, I think for Scoot, I'll do a more in-depth draft analysis in terms of, strengths, weaknesses, and all that stuff. So I'll save that for the video. But in terms of just like Scoot as a player, just overall, I mean, he's a very talented player. I think to me, what impresses me more so than the talent from him is really the leadership aspect. I can't remember, Pete or Brad, if you talked about it. But it was a really eye-opening experience to kind of see such a young man have like the most kind of like genuine reaction to being on the bench cheering on his teammates. Like, whenever he's like out, with rest and he's trying to rest up so he can get back in the game, this dude is the first guy up no matter what happens. Like, guy makes a layup, guy does something, he's up first on the bench leading the team as kind of that energizer bunny. And that's a huge thing in today's game. I mean, again, a lot of people might see that as corny. Might people see that as like, why are you, excited about your teammates? But it just kind of, it breeds that sort of, culture changing aspect that you guys talked about. He can be a culture changer for an organization. I think, Brad, you talked about it with the Kings. Like, De'Aaron Fox, not really that much of a culture changer. Good player, but not a culture changer. Whereas if, like you said, he's on the Kings roster, he's going to change that culture for the better, especially for a team that hasn't really found its culture since 2002. And, as they kind of continue to figure out what's the best team and things like that, I think I'm excited for Scoot if he does decide, or if the Kings do have that pick, to go get him. Fortunately, got rid of Tyrese Halliburton, so I'm a little triggered by that. But, get him. And kind of Keegan Murray, and I think you have something special there. And I think you are right from that perspective. He's a great playmaker, like you said, mixture of D Rose and Westbrook for sure. I definitely see that. in the way that he plays. I think to me, D Rose is still like the most athletic point guard in terms of just like how powerful he was for his size. I guess Westbrook's like that too, but I don't know. I'm more impressed with D Rose in that sense. But
That's fair. That's fair.
So D Rose was always so much more controlled with it. He had so much more poise. Like Westbrook, we all know we don't need to get on him, but chaos walking Westbrook.
yeah.
The other team too, I thought, is the Wizards. I think the Wizards could really use a culture setter like Scoot on their team.
I thought about that, but I didn't want to do that to him.
I didn't want to do it to him either. That's not why I picked him, but I honestly think they could probably use him the most of all these teams. Like he's the exact type of guy that you need in such a bleak situation. And I don't even know if people understand how bleak the Wizards situation is. I don't know if people will fathom it until they see how bad their record is at the end of this season, but they're terrible, man. They're so bad. They just have no direction. He's a direction setter.
Yeah. Isn't Bradley Beal
what
involved
about-
in safety protocols too? Actually,
He just got in there.
Is he really?
He just got in there a couple hours ago.
That's terrible.
Yikes. Well, let's all fawn over our guy Wembanyama. Let's talk about him. Let's get to him. So let's basketball drool. Brad, what were some of your thoughts about Wembanyama when you're watching him?
LeBron put it best actually. He said, people have been talking about unicorns, but he called him an alien, and I couldn't agree more. Like this guy he's not from Earth. He's literally not from here.
Yeah.
He's 7'3" without shoes, so 7'5" in shoes, 7'4.5", whatever you want to say. Made Rudy Gobert look not short, but look like a normal human being, which is insane. He can shoot the ball, he can rebound, blocks everything. I think I saw something, somebody tweeted it, but it was like Kristaps Porzingis and another player hold this record for like 5 blocks, 5 threes made, and 5 rebounds in a game. And Wemby's going to break that in like the first 10 games. Like Kristaps Porzingis is second on that list with 2. I think the number one person has like 5.
You're going to rename that the Wembanyama. That
they're going to have to.
Yeah.
They're going to have to. He's going to break that so easily. He can I really don't see any flaws in his game other than, his strength, but he's a young kid. He'll put on muscle, get into an NBA training regimen. So it's nothing to worry about. And honestly, when you're that tall, you don't really need to be that strong. We see
you
KD.
Really
yeah, exactly. And that's skilled too. So I can't say enough good things about him. He's Congolese. Shout out my people. I love this kid. Like I'm about to get a France jersey today, actually.
I genuinely think I'm going to buy one too. I mean, I couldn't be more all in on somebody before they've played one professional minute of anything than I am on this guy. The thing that sticks out the most with Wembanyama, and I know we were just talking about this with Scoot, but I think that's what makes these guys so special. Like, I was so impressed with the maturity Wembanyama has, because you have to think, like, let me put into perspective what I'm trying to say. Like, I think somebody like LeBron is probably the greatest example of handling expectations and pressures we've ever seen in modern sports. I don't think there's anybody who's handled more just incredibly high expectations and lived up to them, but also kept his head above water and just been like a reasonable, good person for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you think of LeBron, LeBron has handled his position better than you could ask almost anybody in human history to do, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Wembanyama is that, but I was like so impressed with how he's handling these people talking about him, just the maturity, the level of like, I just want to play basketball. I'm not sitting for this year to go number 1 in the draft. He doesn't have to step foot on a basketball court for a full calendar year, and he's the number 1 pick guaranteed in the next draft. And I love that response of like, why would I do that? Why would I sit and do that? I won't get any better. Which that's the type of thing. If you're the league, you have to be put on notice. This guy is already good enough to come into the league and be a top 25 player, in my opinion. I genuinely think that there's no
Absolutely
stopping.
agree.
There's no stopping it. So, and I know I've been bombarding you guys with this in the chat, in our group chat, but like, you give this guy a sky hook, which is honestly the most criminally underused offensive move in the NBA right now. It's over. It's absolutely over. Go back and watch Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, how unguardable he was with his skyhook. This guy is 3 or 4 inches bigger than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. His footwork is better. He's faster. And I'm not saying he's going to be better than Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but he certainly has the potential to be that, which is
He will
insane.
be.
It's a
Oh,
top
excuse me.
3 player of all time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And if he could add that, there's nobody who can get high enough to block a shot from this guy. There's nobody. There's not one player in the league that has the athleticism to get that high on a consistent basis. But my thing with Wembanyama is just, man, I just think he's the leader that any terrible team could use. You know, he's going to go into any of these squads and want to work and just be better. And he's going to make everybody on the team better. And that's something I think I'm so interested to see the dynamic between Scoot and Wembanyama throughout their career. Because I think that's something that is like one of my favorite like storylines in NBA history is usually like draft classes and how they stack up next to each other. I think one of the
Hmm.
most recent ones that gets talked about all the time is Trey and Luka, obviously, right? They got traded for each other in the draft, same couple picks next to each other, and you know their careers they're intertwined forever. And I think the same thing is going to happen with Wembanyama and Scoot, and I think that it's only going to make both of them better. Imagine Scoot is always going to be trying to live up to this top pick that's historic and alien, and vice versa. Scoot is good enough to I think push Wembanyama to new heights too. I couldn't be more excited. You guys want to hear my anime question storyline of this whole situation? It's about Wembanyama.
Oh, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So there was a quote that came out. Let me pull this quote from Giannis up because it made me think of this little situation. All right. You look up Giannis Wembanyama. He says, all right, where is it? Oh my gosh, I'm dropping the bag here, boys. I'm dropping the bag. All right, this is Giannis's quote after watching Wembanyama. He has the chance to be one of the best, not at his age, not in Europe, but one of the best to ever play this game. We have never seen someone like that before. I think it's a good challenge for everybody in the league to have somebody who's 7 foot. It says he said 7'2", but I mean, I think we all know in shoes, this dude, like you said, 7'4", 7'5", is able to shoot over you, dribble like he's a guard, block shots, and run down the floor fast. We got to get ready for this kid, you know? He's going to be really good. And it's that last part that sticks out to me. Like, if you go back and look at some of the quotes around the league about LeBron when he was coming out of high school, there was a lot of disrespect for LeBron by players even on the Cavaliers, if you go back and look. I don't remember which player it was exactly, but there was people even on the Cavs that were dissing him. Like, we don't need this guy to be better. And then they were terrible enough to get him in the draft. But the thing that I think is super interesting is you have the league is on notice already. He's a teenager. He's not in the league. He's a year away. And you have guys like Giannis say, we got to get ready for him in particular. Because what are we going to do when he gets here? So my anime plot line is like, this dude is like a prodigy level of player where you have even the best players in the world on notice that he's coming. And I was curious what you guys think is like his anime character comp. And I wrote Itachi. I think Wembanyama is like 7'5" Itachi. He's NBA Itachi.
Ooh.
He's like, you know, he's joining the Anbu and stuff when he's like 8 years old or whatever. Everybody is like, what are we gonna do with this kid? He's so much stronger than us. I guess that's the question: is there an anime character that Wembanyama? I mean, he's coming in like he's Broly or something from Dragon Ball Z.
I
Does he have any
like I
comp?
like the Tachi comp because that's yeah, you're right. Prodigy. Nobody could really see him.
And you can already just see, like, and I'm not saying that Giannis or LeBron, any of these dudes are scared of him. That's not what I mean. It's more just like it takes a but nobody was saying that about Zion, I don't think. Even Zion was like so talked about, so watched and looked at, but it wasn't like I didn't see a lot of people like, what are we gonna do with this guy when he gets here? You know? I didn't see any of that. So Bernie, what about you? Anybody? Yeah, oh damn, maybe I nailed it a little too hard. I was just thinking about like who is this guy if he was an anime character? He probably is, man. Like where he's taken on, he's like, is he gonna have to destroy the French national team from the inside? Is that the
Oh my
mission?
gosh.
All right. The last thing for Wembanyama, I was thinking is did you guys see the story about Embiid now has the option to play for France or the US national team?
I did see that.
No,
He's
that
gonna
bummed
play
you
for
out,
Team
Brad.
USA. Yeah,
I
it
think he
hurts. He should
is,
be
but
playing for Cameroon.
he should. But I want to see him play for France now. I want to see Embiid and Wembanyama play together. That was the other thing where it was like, this kid is so good. I just want to see him play with good players. Like I don't even want Embiid on the U.S. national team. Make it more interesting. If you have Embiid and Wembanyama on the French team, they legitimately have a chance to win the gold medal at the Olympics. So I think that would be fun. A little bit more competition for the U.S. team would be good.
That's true. But I feel
I
like
like that.
I feel like Embiid just wants an easy ring. He wants all the accolades since Jokic has been
He
whipping.
probably does, Brad. I think he'll end up playing for the U.S. team, especially how we
Yeah,
talked about it. But having Wembanyama on your side is pretty interesting. I mean, imagine that
that's
big
true.
three. I
Yeah,
mean, they have Rudy, Embiid, and Wembanyama. They got the trees.
Rudy would just be sitting on the bench most of the time.
He really would. Yeah. Doesn't translate very well. Oh, he is better in international. Yeah. There's no three.
That's true. Yeah,
How does three in the key get called in international? Isn't it like less? They don't call that, do they? Yeah. Don't they call it? Isn't it ruled differently in international basketball? I think you can stay closer to that. I don't know. Well, I guess that's off topic, but yeah, you're not wrong. Rudy definitely is better in international basketball. I agree.
hmm he's like yeah.
It's Siakam, Embiid, even
OG Ananobi.
oh, there it will be. Yes.
Not the Jazz, please.
Oh, we're gonna see the Jazz. I think it's Ralph Sampson. I think that's who you're thinking of. Yeah. Before Ralph Sampson got hurt. Yeah, very similar, honestly. Yep.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. No. You're not overstating it, Bernie. Like I'm in basketball love
Yeah,
with women. I
you can't overstate it
genuinely,
at all.
I rode so hard on the Mobley could have been defensive player of the year last year, and I genuinely he was one of the better defenders in the NBA last season. I still stand by that. I don't think I was crazy. We'll talk about Mobley later in the stream. Like Wembanyama's even more so. He honestly could be defensive player of the year the minute he steps out onto the court. I mean, the guy is going to block more shots than maybe anybody ever if he plays a whole career.
Hmm.
He doesn't have to jump to block just about 90% of the league. He can stand there, get on his tiptoes and still get block shots from almost anywhere on the court. So that was like you said, Bernie, the defensive stuff that's just different. That's just scary. That's why, to me, like I mentioned Mobley again, like that's why I put him so high in my rankings for last season. He was my clear cut number one, and I, even more so with Wembanyama. He's just, I still love Mobley, and Wembanyama is Mobley on steroids himself. Like he's just the ultimate version of that guy. Which we're just going to keep seeing more of these guys. These huge long guys who can dribble up the court. They played guard when they're young or whatever it is, and they grow into these huge frames. It's going to keep going. And I thought that was something interesting too that Giannis said. He said, I believe in 2045, everybody is going to look like Victor. I can't disagree at all. Because like you said,
Hmm.
Bernie, this is like this is the nail in the coffin for anybody that has been anti-positionless basketball. Like this is the nail in the coffin. What are they going to do with all NBA when this guy joins the league, right? You're going to tell me that we're not going to fix how the all NBA voting works so we can't have him, Embiid, Jokic on the same thing? Like they have to work on that stuff cuz how are you going to leave him off of lists if he ends up being what he should be? If he's not even a center, because they're going to want to say he's a center, but he's not going to play like a center realistically. So I couldn't agree more with you, Bernie. Like I think that this is the Steph Curry for 3-point shooting of positionless basketball. Like he's going to break conventional basketball wisdom and start making people shift what they think a guy can be or what positions he needs to play, where he needs to be. I'm so excited to see him play in the NBA. Let's get off of him because we could just keep going for another hour.
Wait, I have a team fit. I got to get out there for him.
Oh, we didn't do that. We didn't even do that. Yeah, go, Brett.
No,
Go, Brett.
yeah. Okay, I have two. My one that would be like, just for entertainment purposes would be him on the Hornets because him and LaMelo would be
Mm-hmm.
show time. That offense would run like beautiful. It would run like Queen Latifah singing in a church or something, bro. Like I don't even know. That would be perfect. Like
Perfect scenario.
like, um yeah, bro, it'd be beautiful. And it'd bring, I mean, tickets, man. It would sell tickets. Adam Silver would love it. So I could see him rigging the draft for that, especially since LaMelo is sinking right now.
Yeah,
But
Brad, you're not
my
wrong. If there's
yeah,
conspiracy theories for rigging of drafts, that's where he'll go.
yeah, like they need that.
Michael
Oh,
Jordan with LaMelo and Wembanyama.
ooh, I didn't even think about the MJ aspect. Yeah, see, that's perfect. But
That's what they
my perfect dream fit for him would be the Spurs because they have all the international connections, so he might have someone he knows on the coaching staff, someone he's familiar with, and then just how they develop players and how they could build around him because they actually have a competent front office. I think the Spurs is I really hope he lands there.
Yeah, Spurs are my number one. I love the idea of him with Pop. Pop gets to ride off into the sunset with a last like little 3-4 year run with Wembanyama, and I just like I don't know if I texted this to you guys, but I love the idea of Wembanyama spending just countless hours with Tim Duncan. I like just put him in the lab with Tim Duncan. Like that's exactly who he needs to be with to learn everything he needs to just maintain his body and career for 20 dynasty level years. I would love to see that.
Mhm.
Which on a side note, he's now, I don't know if you guys saw this, he's training with Dirk's shooting coach, which I'm going to try and pull this name off the top of my head. I think his name is like Gershwin Holger or something like that. But but Wembanyama with the Dirk one-legged step back is nasty. Just throwing that out there. Brad, I knew you were going to say those two teams because we're both on the same page. I think Charlotte and the Spurs are the top two teams I'd want to see him go to as well. However, I had to be a little creative. I thought of somewhere else he could go. This would be fun just on so many levels. No, Bernie, but the Lakers are
Please.
involved. The Lakers are involved. The Lakers don't have their first round pick this year because swap rights, the AD trade. So if the Lakers were to bottom out, Brad, I'm so sorry to say this to you.
Oh
If the
my
Lakers were
gosh.
to absolutely bottom out, LeBron gets hurt, AD is hurt, they're the worst team in the West, they somehow get the odds to get the number one pick. That's the Pelicans pick. So you
Oh
have
my gosh.
Wembanyama with Zion and Herb Jones and CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram. That is unfair. That's absolutely unfair, but there's part of me that would love to see it. Because
I would
that is,
love to see that.
I mean, talk about a true dynasty. That team is borderline unbeatable if you were to throw that squad out there. So, yeah, I think that's my sleeper. That'd be super fun. I would feel really bad for the Lakers, but shouldn't have traded that much stuff for AD. Sorry. It's a tough look. They got the
They did
ring.
get the ring. Yeah.
Got the ring, but Bernie, you can't lie. That ring would start looking a little salty if Wembanyama was the pick that was given up for it. They're not going to be that bad. That's just
Yeah.
in a crazy nightmare induced world. That would be the situation we'd all have to deal with. Wembanyama and Zion on the same team.
Yeah. I think for fit that I would go with, I think I'd be a more obvious one for me, and I think it would be the Thunder. I think to complete kind of the whole Chet Holmgren on this team, think about like how big their lineup's going to be when you get Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, you get Josh Giddey, you have Chet Holmgren, you have Lou Dort, and then you have Victor, and just having the towers, and especially the towers that are mobile. They're not going to be in the post kind of doing what they want. Like they're going to be two guys that can both be inside and outside and create those type of I mean the crazy like offenses that, and they might have to fire Billy Donovan and get a new coach. Or no, he's not the coach there. Who's the coach for the Thunder right now? Is it Billy
It's
Donovan?
Mark
no,
Daigneault. Mark
yeah,
Daigneault, something like that.
Mark Daigneault. Yeah,
Yeah.
But like
he was the guy they hired last season.
you get a coach, and I'm not sure too much about his history, but you get a coach that like offensively knows how to get the best out of his players. I think that this might, if those two end up on the same team and give them maybe a couple years to kind of work some chemistry out together, this might be one of the best offensive teams and best offensive seasons for any team in history. I know that the Warriors kind of play that style of basketball where the offense is amazing, but I think the things that you can do differently from like having the shooters that the Warriors are to kind of the bigs and the positionless stuff that you can do for the Thunder if they have this guy. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm even thinking about it right now, like in my head, and even just having my clipboard next to me and just drawing X's and O's of like how would I use both of those guys with that team.
Yeah, that'd be insane.
That'd be
That'd be
fun
so great.
basketball.
You'd have to come up with some new stat tracker for blocks and three pointers for one team specifically. I
Oh
mean,
my goodness.
they'd break every record for threes and blocks combined, like on one squad. That'd be insane. Just the block party that would be Chet and Wembanyama next to each other. I mean, you would not be able to drive on that team really at all. That'd be almost an impossibility to get in there.
Yeah.
Uh, I like that one, Bernie. I mean, Again, I don't think the Thunder are going to be bad enough to get him probably with who they have. Even with Chet hurt, I think they're going to be terrible. I don't think they're going to trade Shea. I don't think they're going to be bad enough to get him. But it'd be fun.
They could do
I like it.
with all their millions of picks that they got.
Well, that was the last question I was going to say. Like, do you think there's any scenario in which we see the biggest trade of all time to get this number one pick? Or do you think, like, I'm more of the opinion, I don't think there's almost anything anybody could put together to get that number one pick off of whoever
No.
gets it.
Well, I think
Yeah, I
think
think
it's
they would.
possible.
I think that's the reason why like there was a lot of hesitancy on trades afterwards because they kind of realized, okay, this is like the class that you want to like get one of these guys, and we all know
Yeah.
that the lottery system, it's all it's the luck of the draw, and you got to really be like hoping and praying that you have enough ping pong balls on your side to get you the guys that you want. So
Yeah.
I,
I
I'm
mean,
holding the
this is
fort.
going to be historic tanking season. That is for sure. That is for sure. It's going to be nuts. But yeah, I would be very curious. I mean, if the Thunder get like, let's say they end up with the fifth pick, and we know they tried to go get Cade a couple years ago with their picks, but they didn't offer 10 first round picks. I mean, they offered 10 first round picks. They have like 9 more still, I think. So they could go throw out like double the highest trade of all time to try and get him. So it'd be very interesting. People are gonna go absolutely full embarrassment mode to try and get this guy. They don't care. There's no dignity when it comes to having Wembanyama on your squad.
Yeah, definitely.
I
For sure.
agree. I would, yeah. If I got that number one pick, though, I'm holding diamond hands. Nothing you could offer me would please me to give that up. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. I mean, it would be interesting. Like, let's say like a decent team has a bad year and gets number one, and you know the offer is like what the Cade offer was. Let's say it's like Shea and something
Yeah.
else plus like 8 picks. I think there might be like a good team, and they just fall into that spot that would do it. But you'd be pretty hard pressed to have anybody that would bite on a trade.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's kind of one of those things. But let us know in the comment section down below, what do you guys make of this Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson? I know we kind of deviated away from a lot of different stuff on this topic, but it was a very interesting conversation to have with both of you in terms of what is the best fit for both these guys, who you guys like for them on a roster. Because I think at the end of the day, we both know, or all three of us know, I should say, that these are going to be the top 2 picks, no matter what happens. I mean, there could be a crazy season by somebody else, but I think for the most part, these 2 guys are really going to be it. And the rest of the teams are going to be salivating, trying to figure out how to get ping pong balls on their side. So let us know in the comment section down below. What do you guys make of both Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson? Who are you taking? And let us know in the comment section down below.